Hello friends, welcome to Sql Server tutorial. In this sub-series, you are watching some of the select query techniques. Now let's look at paging through the query. So paging queries are useful for front-end pagination. Say for example, Visual Basic or ADO.NET all uses pagination, and from SQL 2012 onwards, this pagination support is given to the database itself. So you can simply retrieve the pagination result from the backend. Instead of processing it in the front end, you can perform the pagination in the backend itself. Alright. Front-end application performs paging so that it can fetch data in batches. For example, a website returns a list of 20 products first, and when user clicks the next button, next batch will be pulled. So let's state that you are looking at the Amazon website. Let's state that you typed something and you searched for a specific product or a specific category, and if you see here, the page is displaying 6 products, and let's state that you are at first page. So you can click any page. So for example, if a user clicks the second page, during that time only it will hit the database, and the front end will supply the ID ranging for the next page, and the front end will form a where condition, and based on the where condition it sends a second request to database will send second set of data. So this is what called pagination, and that's what here we are talking about. For example, a website returns a list of 20 products first. Here in this picture, 6 products first, and when user clicks the next button or the numbered swatches, the next batch will be pulled. So that's what called pagination, and usually the front-end application, whether it is a web application or a desktop application, it will form the where condition on the fly based on the user's interaction and makes a query. SQL 2012 provides a query syntax to achieve this. That means at runtime you no need to form the where condition by calculating the number of record or calculating the ID. So if it is based on product ID, so you have to form a where condition to supply a specific range of a product ID, so that product will be retrieved in batches. So so that's about the front end job. But in SQL 2012, the query syntax achieves this pagination. That means the front end can directly use the paging technique or paging query to achieve this result. So that's what we are going to see here. In older releases, it is front end's responsibility to perform paging via where conditions. Below is the example which retrieves the result in batches. In our case, each batch is a 5 record. So that's what we are performing the paging query. If you see, what we are returning is a product ID, product name, quantity per unit, and the table is products table from products, order by product ID. So this order by is important for pagination to avoid random or repeated entry. We can go for order by product ID. Then fetch is the keyword, 0 rows, fetch next 5 rows only. So This offset 0 stands for, suppose if the query is like this: select product ID, product name, quantity per unit from products, order by product ID. There will be query result, right? Record 1, 2, let's state 1, 2, 3. This is already added by product ID, and let's state there are 1000 records. So offset 0 means from first record itself you can pick, and if you specify offset 3 means it will be offsetted to third record and it will pick from there. So that means the start of the record is 3. So offset 0 rows, that means start from the very beginning. Offset 3 rows means skip the first 3, start from fourth one. So offset 0 rows. Fetch next 5 rows. Here in this case, if you see offset 0 rows, from here fetch 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this is one batch. So for the next batch to work out, I have to use offset 5 rows. Why? Because 5 we already paginated. Offset 5 rows, fetch next 5 if you want to return in equal batches. So this 5 is not mandatorily same for each and every query. So you can change it. In first batch you can return 5, and in second batch 10, and in third batch 6. All those stuff also you can do using the fetch next. So there are two keywords. One, if you see, that is offset 0 rows, then fetch next. Using these two keys you can perform the pagination. Now let's go to the example and see how it works. So we already talked about this offset 5 rows, next 5 to process the next batch. Now it's demo time. Now we will clear the query window from our previous tutorial, and we will create a new query. We will set database as Northwind. So select product ID, product name, quantity per unit from products, order by product ID. So if you see, this is what the query returned, and there are 77 products. Now we will perform the pagination. So here if you see, perform paging, front end will replace offset. It will replace only this number, and second this number for fetch next. So that's all front end will do. It will not worry about the previously processed IDs. Here product IDs are simple. In some cases the product IDs are like say for example a student table may have student ID as 1 or AB123, AC123, KB123. So in those cases doing the pagination will be more coding on the front end. But here if you see, now if a front end application like AD1 or .NET or Entity Framework or any other front end application, it will just replace these two numbers. That's all. So it will, based on these two, the front end can easily perform the pagination. Now let's execute this. Offset 0, that means from first row itself fetch 5 rows. So let me copy this to a new query window, and I'll delete this. So here if you see, when I execute, it shows the first 5 rows, and you can see that here first 5 rows are paginated. Now for the next 5 rows, we have to change the offset. That's all. So we already processed 5 rows. Now here I'm setting offset 5 rows. Now this will show next 5 rows, 6 to 10. So 10 is processed front end will replace this as 10 now, and if you see, it is performing the pagination. Suppose if you want to fetch more record, so 15 processor, right? Now I will put 15 and fetch next 15. That means I want to see product ID 16 to 30, and here you can see that, right? So that's all you have to know about the pagination query. For pagination query, you have to do the sorting to avoid repetition or to see the result in a proper way. Then you have to use the offset and fetch next. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.